Today on the DML News Podcast, the DNC has started. That's right. It's called the Deadly National Convention. Dennis and I are going to analyze everything you need to know about what's going on, the maniacs in the streets, the police, the abortions, everything God hates, the DNC delivers. We're going to speak about it, and as always, it's all unfiltered.
Dennis Michael Lynch gives you his word, and he will never let you down. He will always fight for America.
The only one who really puts his money where his mouth is Dennis Michael Lynch.
Hello, I'm Dennis Michael Lynch, and thank you for joining me today. Across from me is my son, Denny. On the controls is my son, Ryan. Right here is this guy named DML, also known as Dennis Michael Lynch, and he never fails to tell you the truth, and we're going to hit it hard today. Very hard today. I've been in this business for a long time, 20 years, and I've seen it all. From 9/11 to the border to what has taken place to Donald J. Trump, a stolen election as far as I'm concerned. I don't care what anybody says. No longer is this show apologetic. This show is not going to be afraid. This show is not going to be censored. We all know Joe Biden never, ever, ever won that election in 2020. I'm going to say it till the day I die. There is no way that 81 million Americans wanted what we have here today. There's no single way that anybody will ever convince me, especially the lying Democrats and the lying media. They have lied to us about every single thing. I can't come up with something where they've actually told the truth. Even CNN exaggerates everything when it comes to a weather system. The world is falling all the time, and it's always Trump's fault. And before it was Trump's fault, it was George W. Bush's fault. Always blaming somebody, but they never want to take a look at themselves. You know, there's an old saying that says when you're pointing the finger at somebody, you've got three fingers pointing back at yourself. But the Democrats fail to see that. Now, let's take Joe Biden, for example. 52 years, that man has been allowed to lie to you straight in the face, whether it was at the senator level, the VP level, or the fake president level. And the media has covered over for him, and his evilness has been able to basically metastasize like a stage 4 cancer. And what you hear along the way is his Democrat friends telling you that this guy should be on Mount Rushmore, that that space that's open should be for Joe Biden. That tells you how delusional the Democrats are. They're delusional. And it's not just about lying. These people are sick. I have said it a gargantuan amount of times, and here we go again. I truly believe that until we do autopsies on every single Democrat, we are never going to understand why their brain misfires so much. I don't know if it's the food, the water, their parents dropped them on their head when they were babies, but something triggers these people to where they can lie to you in the face and believe their own lies. That is sinister. It is beyond just normal. They'll tell you to follow the science. Well, let's get some scientists. Let's open up some brains and follow where the science leads us, because whether it's at the front of the cortex or deep down into the brain, something is not right. Last night, the DNC opened, and it was nothing more than just lies and evil and craziness. And meanwhile, you turn on CNN, and they think they're at a 50th birthday party. But really what they were was at a funeral. It was Joe Biden's funeral. It was disgusting. It was embarrassing. And it was just the end of a horrible 52-year career where he just sucked off the teat of the American taxpayer and gave nothing but lies and delusion back in return. I will give you a prime example. How many years has it been? 10? I lost count. since the DNC and the Democrat Party and all the radicals that make it one glued thing together has been telling you that we need to defund the police and rip down the wall. Meanwhile, in Chicago, the same party that wants to take down the wall has walls being erected up in the middle of the streets to keep their own party out. Think about that. We want walls to keep out drug dealers and human traffickers and illegal aliens and terrorists and cartel. They tell us that we need to rip that down, that we're racists. And meanwhile, the Democrat Party, Kamala Harris, the border czar, and Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, the whole lineup of FBI most wanted list, because that's what it should be, because all we've got is people who committed fraud, treason, adultery, rape, murder. I mean, that's what they're all accused of. Deleting servers, leaving Americans in Benghazi, lying about it. I mean, this should be a criminal list, not a speaker's list. And we've got police lined up like an ocean of yellow, because they got their yellow jackets on. They're sitting there in the middle of the streets trying to keep Democrats from protesting and rioting against Democrats. You can't make this up. So although they tell you that they want us to take down the wall and defund the police, they are funding the police with overtime and spending taxpayer money on erecting walls. You tell me that that isn't the most bizarre thing in the world, and that doesn't deserve an autopsy. I've never in my life seen a narrative be able to go so awry, and yet it still gets covered over by the media in saying this is what America wants. You know, the UK recently put out a warning to all U.S. citizens: do not go online and insult our migrants. Do not go online and start spreading narratives that can incite violence. Listen, on behalf of the American people with a full brain, London Bridge is falling down. You paid a long time ago for this sort of thing to happen to you. This is what you did. And now, as far as I'm concerned, you're getting what you wanted, man. We don't want that. You want to have it? Have at it. But let me give you the opposite here in the United States. We want you to share the clips from our DNC. We want you to share the speeches. We want you to share everything that the DNC is showcasing this week, because the world needs to know what Democrats and liberals and radicals do to a country. And you don't have to worry about being extradited here to the United States. We don't want you. We have no room, and we've got enough of you. Chicago looks like a police state, not because MAGA crazies are there with their Second Amendment right flags and their AR-15s threatening to bring the whole thing down. No, it has nothing to do with that. MAGA people aren't even there. They're not even tuning in. They're looking at the clips on X and just laughing their asses off and saying, how did we allow this to happen? Because although it's funny, it's sort of sad. And it is. Right-wingers, as we're called, we're the ones who keep the jobs. Right-wingers, we're the ones who try to save the unborn from being terminated. We're the ones who actually highlight the real numbers of what's going on. Let's not forget, we're the ones who wanted to end slavery that the Democrats wanted to keep. But somehow, some way, through Hollywood and the media and just creative spinning, somehow, some way, the right has gotten the evil empire personality painted onto us. And it's very unfair. All you have to do is watch the DNC for one night. If you can even mentally get through it, because you're going to think you're watching a movie with actors and actresses who are trying to resemble an insane asylum. If you could get through it for a week, you'll see that it's people who are on the right. We're the only ones keeping this country afloat and alive. And whether you want to recognize it or not, that is the truth, the entire truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God. Are you even allowed to say God at the convention, Dennis? Is God even allowed?
In the Democrats' world, I think they would find 10 different reasons to believe it's offensive.
Unbelievable. So what I want to do today, for the sake of this program, is I want to take a look at Joe Biden, what it is that he said. We're going to play 2 clips. Then we're going to take 2 clips of 2 freaks. I mean, this represents freaks of the DNC. And then we have to take Hillary Clinton, because Hillary Clinton last night, I mean, I tuned in and then I had to tune out because I was ready to pull my hair out, and I'm not alone. I think God was like flipping things up there in heaven, because in the backyard, and I mean, I didn't give Ryan the photo, so if people want to see this, go to my X account, which is x.com/trustdml, or go to thegreatamericannewsletter.com and make sure you get the Great American Newsletter. When Hillary Clinton started speaking last night, outside in the backyard, I started to see lightning like never before. Not the lightning that goes, I'm talking about, it was lights.
Like apocalyptic.
It was apocalyptic. And I went outside and I literally videoed it. I'm going to show it during the wine and talk on the weekend, but when I do it with your mom. But I was looking up there and I'm saying, is this God like really upset, like saying down to us, how are you allowing this to happen? And we'll get to Hillary in a minute. I want to save her for last, because best for last. Let's go over Joe Biden, Dennis. Before we get into the nuances, today on our newsletter, we put out a report about Guatemalan children and traffickers down at the border, what is actually happening, and the numbers are all cockamamie. So can you please take 2 seconds and explain to the good people what we're looking at?
Well, look, I think this report is indicative to everything that's wrong with the Democrats. When you look at the numbers with illegal immigrants coming over, Guatemalans only comprise 6% of that overall number. But
So they make up. So,
yeah. So 6% seems pretty minuscule when you consider everyone that's coming over these days. But when you look at unaccompanied minors and the percentage with what encompasses in them, 70% of those minors are Guatemalan, and that is because a lot of these trafficking centers and groups operate deep within Guatemala. In fact, they really have a full-on operation going over there where they're taking the kids from these parents, sometimes willingly, and then sometimes not so willingly. Usually it's a monetary reason. And they're giving these minors over to sponsors in the United States that aren't even related to these kids in any way. And you can already kind of just let your imagination go wild of what's actually happening to these kids. And this is all being done through loopholes of the Biden-Harris administration.
Well, let's go a little deeper into the actual what's happening to them. I don't mind saying it so people know. So the information comes to Senator Grassley from Iowa, and it's through a whistleblower. And this is a very important passage that we have to tell people about. Here's what's written. The whistleblowers allege that the Biden-Harris administration has prioritized the rapid release of children into the custody of so-called sponsors, as Dennis pointed out, often without adequate vetting. In many cases, these sponsors are not related to the children and may be part of trafficking networks. For instance, one 16-year-old Guatemalan boy was placed with a stranger posing as his cousin, and a teenage girl was placed with a man who later was found to have child pornography on his social media accounts. The report also includes instances of multiple minors being placed at a single address, some of whom were never enrolled in school, raising further questions about labor trafficking and exploitation. Now, here's the thing, Dennis. You will hear, and this is what I'm talking about at my opening here, you will hear the Democrats say that Trump separated families and absolutely treated these children like a horror show. He separated things so this way this kind of thing wouldn't happen to those children, yet the Biden-Harris administration, the border czar, is allowing little children to be smuggled, trafficked into this country, and then being handed over to people who are evil. You can't find those kids? Let me tell you where those kids are. Those kids are in the sex trade right now, and they will never, ever get out.
Of course. Look, you got to it almost feels simplified. This is the party that, if you're looking at the screen right now behind us, that is the abortion bus, vasectomy bus as well, but the abortion bus that they set up at the DNC. So part of their whole platform is the idea of, if you don't want a kid, you don't have to have one. You can get rid of it that easy. So why would anyone ever think that they would actually care about any of these minors that are being trafficked over and really trying to actually benefit their well-being? I mean, one of the most infamous photos of all time are those unaccompanied minors at those shelters along the border wearing those aluminum-looking
Which
blankets.
started with Obama.
I was about to say. And who was president at the time? Barack Obama. And, you know, everyone wants to paint him as this saint that really looks out for the little guy and all the kids out there. They don't literally care. And you can base that off of their platforms, which is, if you don't want to have a baby, go get rid of it.
Going back to the border, lift your microphone up a little. Going back to the border for a second, Stephen Miller ran Trump's border. Basically, his whole immigration was from a guy named Stephen Miller. And I just think it's apropos because we're about to play two clips from Biden. We're going to start with his border speech last night. But I want to just give what Stephen Miller here wrote, just a few days ago on X. He says, wow, CBP, which Border Patrol, just issued a press release admitting that the border czar Harris has quietly smuggled nearly 1 million illegal aliens into the U.S. using a fast pass entry phone app. None of these illegals are counted in BP stats. All of them get work permits, social security numbers, and a path to citizenship, which means that they also get social security. Keep that in mind.
Right.
So here's what it is that he retweeted. It says, in July, Border Patrol processed over 38,000 individuals with appointments at ports of entry utilizing advanced information submitted through Border Patrol One, and that's the app. Since the appointment scheduling function in the CBP One was introduced in January 2023, so a year and a half ago, through the end of July 2024, more than 765,000 individuals have successfully scheduled appointments to present at ports of entry instead of risking their lives in the hands of smugglers. The top nationalities processed subsequent to arrival for their appointment are Venezuelans, Cubans, Mexicans, and Haitians, which basically spells out to violence, 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 and violence. This is what it is. So when you read the numbers and how the numbers are coming down, they're not coming down. They're just offsetting where those numbers are positioned. Yeah. Now, with that said, let's play the first video we've got of Joe Biden talking last night during his farewell, I'm going to be eliminated from the White House soon. Let's see what he said about the border. Ryan, play the clip.
Then I had to take executive action. The result of the executive action I took, border encounters have dropped over 50%. In fact, there are fewer border crossings today than when Donald Trump left office.
All right, Dennis. So according to Joe Biden, his numbers are now better than Trump's ever were. I want to give people an actual stat. All right, this is not something I'm making up. It's an actual stat rounded off. In July of 2024, which is Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, the encounters, this is not the gotaways, this is not the BS that we just wrote about how it is that they're offsetting parolee programs and all this other different stuff. Just the encounters at the border were 104,000. Now, Biden is out there saying we're down by more than 50%. Well, yeah, when you're starting up at an unbelievable number like 300,000 and you're coming down to 100,000, you could throw a party all you want. But don't lie to the American people, because the truth of the matter is that in January of 2020, it was 36,000 encounters. So Trump hands over a border that has 36,000 encounters coming in, and now we've got 100,000, and Joe Biden's going to lie to Americans and telling you that the numbers are down and the media will not hold him accountable.
And again, you just got to always question the relevance that these numbers are, and I'm putting quotes, low when you have an election right around the corner. It's obviously all just the schematics that they're trying to paint here, that they're really making any progress or work, and it's not. And I think what's also very indicative, especially with Joe Biden giving that eulogy speech in a way, is that the Democrats are so far from being united than ever before. And a big indication of that is that, that speech was filled with gaffes left and right. And instead of sticking around with this whole idea, because you see it on CNN, I'm passing the torch, he is quite literally dipping out the next day and going to vacation in California. So the man is just going to spew his lies, saying that he's doing great work on the border. And instead of showing any support to his successor, he's dipping right out of there.
Ryan, are you ready with the next clip on from Biden? The next clip here that we're going to play is Joe Biden insulting every single last American, especially those that were forced into getting a jab. Play the clip.
Beginning to fight for 50 years to give Medicare the power to negotiate low prescription drug prices. We finally beat Big Pharma.
All right, Dennis. So he's alleging that he and Kamala Harris basically took down Big Pharma. Now, I was born at night, but not last night. Last time I checked, he was working with Big Pharma, telling everybody that they needed to get vaccinated, that they needed to get boosted, that this would wind up saving your life. It would wind up keeping you from getting sick, and you definitely wouldn't wind up in the hospital. All lies once again. How did he take down Big Pharma? He was giving mandatory COVID shots. You were losing your job. You were getting kicked out of the military if you didn't take the poison, which was paid for by the U.S. government, and somehow he took down Big Pharma?
It's a lie. It's just another flat, big L lie. I mean, even when you look at the costs of just simple medicines and prescriptions, it's all gone up. So where is this idea that he really stuck it to the big man when it comes to holding the pharmaceutical companies accountable? And the truth is, he hasn't. So for him to just stand up there and not be challenged on it just goes to show that they will push this lie that they really, did anything about it.
I go back to what I opened up this show with. When you look at the lies from Joe Biden, from Kamala Harris, from the entire DNC, the only way they get back to a podium through a re-election process is because the media never tells the people the truth. The media, out of all this, is the most complicit. They are the co-conspirator. These people like Joe Biden are coming up with the lies. They're spreading them through the media. The media is the drive-away. He is the getaway driver. Joe Scarborough and CNN and all these people, they are carrying out this lying message. I truly believe it. In this country, if you're a doctor, if you're a lawyer, you have to sign an oath. If you are found guilty of malpractice, whether that is on the medical side or in the legal side, you're gone. We should have the same sort of requirement for media outlets and for journalists. If you don't take an oath and then keep to that oath of telling the truth and exposing these people for what they are on both sides, you are gone. They have no right being in the business of media and journalism because you cannot have a democracy, you cannot have a republic, you cannot have a good, informed voter if they don't have access to the truth.
Well, because they filter the truth. If you even looked at the cable networks and how they did their coverage, with the exception of Fox News, and even then you can kind of raise some questions, almost none of them last night would touch on the protests that were happening quite literally right outside the convention. They almost just treat it as if it wasn't existing. So they try to paint this peachy keen image that everyone's unified, everyone's there for a Big Joe speech, and then Obama's tonight, when the truth is, one, the numbers actually look pretty dwindling there in the convention itself, and two, right outside those doors, everything they're hypocritical about, such as they don't really like walls and they want to defund the police. Well, they're upped with major police presence and they have a freaking barrier surrounding the entire thing. It's clear that they are in complete disarray, but the media just doesn't want you to know that. They're going to make sure that everything looks like it's going, according to plan and going well at that too.
We want to move on now to the next two clips that we have that are just going to blow the mind. We have a woman. I don't even know who this woman is. I've never seen her before. I don't know where she comes from, but whoever she is worthy of a spot on the stage. And let me tell you something, she delivers. Listen to what this absolute fruitcake lying maniac has to say about Trump weaponizing the DOJ if he gets back into office. Play it, Bubba.
Donald Trump would be able to weaponize the Department of Justice to go after his political opponents. He could even turn the FBI into his own personal police force. That is not how it works in America. That's how it works in dictatorships. Donald Trump.
This woman is suggesting this is not even, it's not even an insult to our intelligence, Dennis.
It's irony.
It is pathetic. This is the kind of video. Let me say it this way. If I was to give a speech on mental illness, this would be the speech I would play, because unless I'm wrong, hasn't the DOJ and FBI been weaponized by Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and Kamala Harris and Hillary Clinton to go after Trump?
Yeah, last time I checked, I think it was Trump's place that got raided by them out of, complete expectation, with also some questions about what was Garland's orders regarding that raid, shoot on sight if needed, to suggest here that Trump is going to go in and weaponize the very department that has been actively weaponized against him for years now is laughable. But so is the DNC. So can we, I think at this point, it's just who gets the better soundbite of just sounding more ridiculous? And she's up there in the top 3 so far.
Russia collusion.
Yeah.
Basically spread and being allowed to even happen by the FBI. Trump being hit with one case after the next in kangaroo courts. The last one, which sentencing will come down on September 18. That's still coming. Get ready to strap in for that day. Led by a top DOJ guy. How can you even start to say that the FBI and DOJ is going to be weaponized when Trump gets into office? It's already been weaponized, so he can't get in.
Let's not forget that this is the same FBI that immediately washed off the roof of the man, the blood of the man who tried killing Trump at a rally a month ago, and then is also taking their very sweet time in investigating anything about it. So that's the group that is going to fall under Trump's thumb when they can't even give effort into finding out why and who really was all behind this assassination attempt. It's again laughable.
Let's shift our attention here for a second to AOC, all right? Because I think AOC is the poster child of how much the media lies and the Democrats can't find their ass with both hands. Donald J. Trump gets on stage for 2 hours. I would say 10% of every speech is fluff. A lot of fun, a lot of laughs, a lot of stuff. The next 10% of the speech is making or poking fun or making a name, calling Sleepy Joe or going after cackling Harris. So if you take that, what do you got? 20 minutes, 30 minutes of fun? The next hour and a half is going to be Trump explaining, sometimes in too much detail, how he is going to fix everything. He'll tell you, we're going to send these people home. We're going to have mass deportation because, by the way, you should believe this. Here are the numbers, and here's what I did in 2016. And he goes into long-winded, everything you need to know what he's planning to do. And yet, the only thing you ever hear at all on the mainstream media is any of the garbage that came out of 10% of the name-calling. And he's a racist, and he's this, and he's that, and everything else. Kamala Harris just the other day was giving a speech and referred to Trump as a coward. A coward. The man is shot in the ear, gets right back up, goes on about his business, is got the Secret Service against him as far as I'm concerned, and he's not coward. I can't get this woman to do a 4-minute interview with favorable press, and she's not the coward. But
or debates, by the way.
Or debates. Here's the bigger point. When you watch Democrats take the stage for 2 hours, you get 2 hours filled with name calling and nonsense and not one single minute of a plan. Not one.
No details.
There's not a single detail. And if you want an example of the gibberish that these people say and somehow get away with it when nobody on CNN or New York Times says, what's the plan? All you have to do is listen to the bartender turned Congresswoman AOC. Play the clip.
And I, for one, am tired of hearing about how a two-bit union buster thinks of himself as more of a patriot than the woman who fights every single day to lift working people out from under the boots of greed, trampling on our way of life.
What did she say, Dennis?
I can't tell you exactly what she said in terms of the content that she was talking about, but just to address her tone really quick, there's this term that I was actually taught, unfortunately, in the liberal school system called code switching. And I've always thought it was the most ridiculous thing. And the concept here is that politicians, depending on their audience, like to switch up their tone or even their behaviorisms as they're speaking to them because it's a way to relate one-on-one. And I just want to call BS on that, because if you can't just relate to your audience by being you, like Donald Trump is Donald Trump in a Chick-fil-A at a construction site, or if he's in Saudi Arabia making a deal. Whereas AOC adopts this black preacher kind of persona when she's trying to did the same thing with Jamal Bowman a few weeks ago, where she's trying to really connect, whether it's a youth crowd or a particular, ethnic-centric crowd, and it's so pandering. And if you fall for that, I'm sorry for you, because the fact that she's going to go up there and adopt that persona and people fall for it just shows that the Democrat Party is at an all-time low IQ level.
Dennis, I go back to my autopsies. When I look at AOC do that whole thing, she looks like a younger version of Nancy Pelosi, because
Yes.
Nancy Pelosi does that same thing. I'm telling you, these people have like mini seizures when they talk. If it's AOC like this, or Nancy like this, or Kamala with the giggle, it's the same thing. Look at it over and over and over and over again. It's the same. Even Biden. Look at Biden when he's got his faces and he's looking like this. They're having a seizure. That's what it looks like. They're having a seizure. But speaking of seizures, there is no person on earth who can actually trigger me more than Hillary Clinton. She can trigger me, man. I'm telling you right now.
I would have guessed Barack, but maybe she's
No,
close.
because Barack Obama. See, the thing about Barack Obama that's different from Hillary Clinton, and Barack Obama is tonight. Barack Obama is looking at me through the camera, and he's saying, I know you know that everything I'm saying right now is total bullshit, but I'm going to get away with it. And I'm Barack Obama, and you're not. And I just sit there and I say, you know what? I can't stand you, but I got to say, you got yourself to the top doing all the things you were supposed to do. Hillary Clinton is a different story. Hillary Clinton looks at me in the camera and says, listen, you white man piece of shit. I'm giving you the middle finger because F you and everybody you love, because I am here and I'm never going to die, and I am going to make sure this country is rotting forever. She's just so evil. See, I think if I met Barack Obama tomorrow, he would at least try to be friendly. You meet Hillary Clinton tomorrow, she's going to look right through you. She's going to look right through you like she wants to kill you. She is an evil woman who never got anywhere. You know, Barack Obama, I can't stand him. I can't stand him. He was the worst president of the United States, but now he's the second worst because Biden outdoes him, even though Biden was only reading from the blueprint.
A little by proxy there. Yeah.
But Barack Obama was cunning enough to get himself through everything he did to be number one. Hillary Clinton married Bill Clinton. That's why she's where she is. And I can't stand her. I mean, I've seen her. We've seen her outside in East Hampton, New York, when we used to live in New York. And you just see her, and something happens to me.
Goosebumps.
Goosebumps is when I see your mother in a nightgown. I get a little, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's anxiety. I get something. She's there, and it just chills. It's chills of the bad way. It's like a horror movie. Last night, she takes the stage. Outside, all the lightning starts happening, and I'm like, wow, this is really spooky. You can't make this stuff up. And then she gets on, and she starts talking about Trump's felonies, and the crowd there works the reverse. It used to be at the Trump rallies, lock her up, lock her up. They start chanting it the other way around because Hillary, and this is where you know that Trump was absolutely set up by the DOJ and the FBI. Hillary is using his 34 BS felonies from the kangaroo court of New York City to get the chant that she has been dying to play on television. Ryan, hit it.
Donald Trump fell asleep at his own trial, and when he woke up, he made his own kind of history, the first person to run for president with 34 felony convictions. As Vice President, Kamala sat in the Situation Room.
You know what my concern about her, Dennis, is?
Donald Trump fell asleep at his own trial.
And when he was 110 years old.
Well, there's been reports that they're going to really be trying to utilize her rather than Biden for Kamala's campaign weeks here. She's the queen that never was. She feels that, and she has actively stated it, she feels that the election was stolen from her, even though that wasn't the case. But when she says it, no one wants to call her out. But if, Trump wants to propose one question about 2020, it is, insurrection this and insurrection that.
Isn't it amazing? See, what you just said right there takes this entire podcast and puts it into a package. Every single last thing that they do, whether it's to erect a wall, whether it is getting cops to keep them safe from their own people, whether it is telling you that they want to secure the border and yet they're putting kids into trafficking. Every single thing they do, they lie about. When we try to do the opposite, somehow we're held to be the bad people. And the stuff we're doing is actually the good stuff. It is so inside out and upside down that when you connect the dots going backward, there's only one explanation for it. Barack Obama promised that he would fundamentally transform the United States of America, and my Lord, that man has done it. He's done it on every end, including taking a already compromised media and just giving them the license to lie without consequence, Dennis, without consequence.
Look, agreed. I mean, like you said, Obama, his whole plan was the fundamental change. And with his election, it was supposed to be the idea any black man can become president. And Hillary, her whole shtick was going to be any woman could become president. And like I just said, she feels to this day still that it was taken away from her. And I think for her, in this case, where it's Joe Biden's just throwing the torch because he's old and decrepit, and Obama wants his fundamental change to continue, I think for Hillary, it's personal because she hates Trump. And this is her way of saying, not only can I get the first ethnic woman in there, but my influence can be that I'm the woman who helped Kamala take down Trump once and for all and make him completely irrelevant. So I think, to kind of what you said, there's a scariness with her and to see what she's capable, even when she's not in a position of power. And I think her lack of empathy is what just makes her so terrifying.
If you really think about it, Hillary Clinton hates all men. She hates all men. And I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but I bet you deep down inside she's a lesbian. I mean, she had a baby, although we think you would guess it's it, but I just, there's something about her. She always hates women, and she seems to really just love on, I mean, she really hates men, and she just really seems to always love on women. I mean, she never gives a man the respect that she gives to women. And I'm telling you, there's something in every Democrat's brain. Until we have autopsies, we won't know what it is. I want to play what I think is the most egregious clip of the entire night. We were lied to all night long, but this one really was an insult to every American and every human being who champions for right to life. Play the clip.
Kamala cares about kids and families, cares about America.
Explain to me how it is that Kamala Harris is a champion of children and families when there is, right outside of the convention, a bus from Planned Parenthood that's giving out free vasectomies and free abortions. How do you square that circle?
And that's just the surface. I mean, think about how much they push this platform. You got the bus there that can perform that. They have a 20-foot inflatable IUD, which is to prevent pregnancies. They have activists dressed up in the streets right now as abortion pills. They're wearing costumes for it. I mean, their whole platform has become based around that. It's your right to choose. It's your right to, do what you want and not think about the consequence. So, abortion and things of that nature should be looked at not as a celebration, but as a loss. And yet they are prepping it up as to be this fantastic healthcare method that is your right and everything you can do to make yourself better, when in actuality, it's a very sad and depressing reality to face. And the spin they've put on it is just so aberrant. And everything about Kamala has been just the promotion of anti-family. I mean, she talks about population reduction. So yet again, for another Democrat to go up there and then just state a blatant lie, and then they all take it as verbatim truth and celebrate it in that auditorium, it's just sad. It's just sad, and I think it's just another showcase of the low IQ that a lot of those people have.
Let's wrap it this way. Hillary Clinton gets up there and says that Kamala Harris is a champion for children and families. And yet, as we know, we have an abortion truck outside the DNC. As we know, Kamala Harris has been as guilty as anybody else in this administration when it comes to pushing the narrative that men can have babies and men can have periods and men can have abortions. Those messages right there are designed to take the next generation and make them stay far away from the nuclear family, which is the bedrock of society, the bedrock of what God wants for us, and the bedrock of what once made America a great place to live. Now it is a kangaroo court, upside down. I don't recognize it anymore in the mirror country. And unless Trump gets back into office, fix this stuff, and yeah, I hope he takes the DOJ and the FBI and sticks it on every single one of these political people who deserve to be in jail versus being on stage giving speeches. That is the only way this country ever finds its way back to normal. Now, with that said, why don't you tell us, we'll close out the show with this. A new report says who the hackers are who hacked into Trump's campaign.
In my opinion here, if the Russians were the boogeymen of 2016, for 2024, it's officially Iran. Because according to the FBI, as well as different agencies here, Director of National Intelligence, the CISA, which is cybersecurity and infrastructure security, they're all claiming that these hacking attempts all lead back to Iran. Iran says they didn't do it, show the evidence. The evidence has been a little bit minuscule, at least in the public realm. So for them to just kind of point the fingers at Iran seems a little bit convenient.
Dennis, my ass. It ain't Iran. Iran didn't hack the campaign. Let me tell you something. If you go back and you try to connect the dots, in 2016, we were told it was the Russians that interfered with the election. And then in 2020, we were told the Chinese had nothing to do with interfering with the election. And now we're going to be told it's Iran. Do you want to know who the culprit is? It's the U.S. government each and every single time. And they can continue to lie to us over and over and over, and so be it. But at the end of the day, we know the Russians and the Iranians aren't really the bad guys when compared to the deep state, the people in this country, whether they're in power on the Republican side or the Democrat side. It is a mutiny. They don't want Trump or anyone like him. And that's why when Trump gets back into office this time, and the only way we have that happen is every single last American has to get out and vote. When we get it back, he has got to spend 4 years at destroying these poisonous agencies that have become so corrupt and so broken that until we rid of them, we are not going to be able to rebuild this great country. We're just not.
I agree. And that's why I think a very big message here is ignore those mainstream national polls that tell you that Trump's lead is starting to slip. Look at the on-the-street videos that really show the showcasing of how people really feel and who they're going to vote for. And just remind yourself that as soon as you cast your vote, you know that you're at least, giving Trump a chance to outbeat any rigging that they're doing. To sit by and nod or say like, oh, maybe there's enough, or oh, maybe it's pointless based on these polls that never really give good backing as to who's voting in it. You just gotta shudder it out, because they're gonna try everything in their power to control a narrative here that they're doing way better than they are. When the case in point is Biden's not sticking around at the DNC. Obama gives a speech tonight, and then he's dipping out. Hillary's doing it based on personal gain. Tim Walz is an absolute disaster of a VP choice. I mean, they are completely in disarray right now. They may have the media trying to portray an image of them, but for the first time in a while, I think we finally have Democrats not really coalescing the way that they've always been.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking here in the live chat. We've got Kimmy. Kimmy says, I couldn't believe the lies and propaganda they were spreading last night. You know what, Kimmy? You got to believe it, because here's the thing. They believe what they're spreading. That's the illness of it all. To repeat what I said earlier on the show, the Democrat brain is dysfunctional. There's something that's misfiring. They lie to you. They know they lie to you. But on top of knowing it, they actually believe the lie, which is the most dangerous thing of all, and says that there is a mental illness flowing through the veins and the arteries and the capillaries of these people's blood flow, and their brain is poisoned and contaminated. And until we find out how to fix it, this country is in a slow way down until we can start lifting it back up through MAGA, through Trump, and just through regular old conservatism, the kind of stuff that this country was built on. With that being said, we're going to wrap up here today. Let me just say a few things here, so this way you know. We're no longer on Facebook. Although the account stays open, I use it purely just as a way of advertising that we are now over at X. It's x.com/trustdml. That's my personal account. Then we also opened up one for our app. So there's x.com/DML News app. You go there and you follow it. Facebook is a freaking... It is a losing platform. I had no idea what I was missing until I got over to X. And, of course, using Rumble for our live streams. If you want to become a member, because right after the election, the ability to get us on a live show is gone. We have to be able to pay the bills. So the only way we can do that, because we don't have any advertisements in this show, unlike all the other people on here who are selling you, all this different crap, we don't sell you anything. We get right to the point. We get right into business. The only way we're able to do that is through a membership. If you want to become part of our membership, please go to teamdml.com. Teamdml.com. You sign up for as low as $30 a year. You get everything. You get ad-free news. You get live chat with thousands of conservatives and like-minded people. You get every single program we put on, which once this election is over, my goodness, we're buying so many cameras. We're going to be going all over America. We're going to have so much fun. My boys and I, we're going to have so much fun, and even my daughter, if she's feeling better. We are going to give you so much content, and you could get that by being a member of Team DML. Also, download the DML News app from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. You get news all day long, and we are just rocking and rolling, doing our part along with you in trying to make it so this way we win this election and get America back on track to be great again. It's not just a cliche. It's a way of life, and we've got to find ourselves there. On behalf of Denny and Ryan and all of Team DML, may God bless you, your family, and these United States. What say you, Denny?
Today's Team DML blessing is for Barbara Conroy.
Barbara, take that blessing and have yourself the most wonderful of days. We'll talk to you soon.
The Dennis Michael Lynch podcast every day by subscribing on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and download the DML News app from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store for breaking news, merchandise, films, exclusive content, and Team DML. Get the Dennis Michael Lynch podcast every day by subscribing on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and download the DML News app from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store for breaking news, merchandise, films, exclusive